Let's begin. First, I should say that we are here at George Watts Montessori Elementary, which is a public school here in Durham, North Carolina. I'm here with Anna Zaire, one of our primary teachers. So I have written a few of those qualities, which are at the core of what cosmopolitanism is, and I think that you have a lot of these qualities, and I'll explain farther why I think you have these qualities. So first, well-traveled. I mean, I know that you have love to travel. You travel a lot. You bring those travels into the classroom. You're familiar with a variety of cultures and custom, and that is because you're traveling. You are open and inquisitive about diversity of the world. I know you speak Spanish. You're learning other languages. I think you consider yourself a citizen of the world, and you understand that we are all one human community, regardless of where we live. So let's start the interview by, if you could share a little bit about you and like how long you've been teaching.
Sure. So despite my appearance, I am indeed 24. Which is still not a whole lot of years experience, but it's more than the 12 that I typically get. So I graduated from the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill about 3 years ago. So then I started teaching immediately afterwards. I taught in a Reggio Emilia-inspired child care facility for a year. Then I've been teaching here at George Watts. I'm just about to finish my second year. And during that time, in high school I traveled to Honduras, so that started my interest in the Spanish language. And then I was an au pair in Turkey the summer after my junior year. And then I just finished with a whole bunch of world travels this year.
Yeah, so we'll talk about those travels. So let's just talk about the Spanish first, because so you speak fluently in Spanish, and I'm just wondering how that connects you to, well, your students, their families, and to other Latino people. Do you feel like that might bring you closer to people? Does it give you a better understanding of their culture?
Yeah, so it's something that I've been interested in. My dad would speak in phrases every now and then because he took some high-level Spanish courses in college. So once I continued it in high school and had a certain degree of aptitude for it, I just kept going with it. I approach the Latino community with a bit of trepidation, just going in as a white, privileged person. In general, I don't ever want to assume things that are not true, because I do have a few Latino friends, not many, but who have Latino heritage but don't speak Spanish, and just are like, why are people always coming up to me speaking Spanish? So I never want to make that mistake. But I have found that when I do overhear people speaking Spanish and then either jump in because they're in need of assistance, or just in general don't want them to know that I'm eavesdropping, then it's a bit more welcoming, like, oh, you speak Spanish? Who's this white girl who's knows what, you speak another language?
Yeah, but it comes in really handy.
Absolutely, in this classroom. So I've found that a lot more parents, especially if they aren't very comfortable with English or speak little to no English, are just very much relieved, just visibly so, when I am comfortable speaking in their native tongue. And it really came in handy when I had a child who came directly from Mexico and spoke no English and was expected to have kindergarten norms.
Once. Well, actually, the other day I was talking to a parent who was questioning something that we take for granted here, which is putting an hour. So, on an invitation, you put, it begins at this time and ends at this time, and she was sort of
confused because
there was an ending time, and why do they need to put an ending time? So I bet like living or going abroad to a Latino country helps you to better understand those
That's so funny. Yeah. I
little things.
never thought about it, but I totally get it.
Yeah. So recently you did some more traveling. I know I think one of the qualities that I thought of as, when I'm thinking of a cosmopolitan person is someone who likes to learn about all types of things. And you learn about all types of things all the time. So like you started taking up karate, not long ago. What gives you the like I can do it attitude?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes looking back, it's a bit puzzling because I grew up in rural North Carolina, like in the sticks, where a lot of my classmates had absolutely no exposure to anything beyond that world. My parents were a little bit more cultured, I suppose, but still very like religiously conservative, and we were very much in that like sort of mindset, I suppose. But with my dad's exposure to Spanish, and I think because I read so much all the time growing up, that like kind of sparked my curiosity for the world in general, and also because my parents were affluent enough to be able to have me explore a variety of different after-school activities. Like, I never stuck with anything for long enough to get good at it, but I tried a whole bunch of different things. I did do karate, actually, growing up for 6 months or so. So it was kind of natural to fall back into it when I definitely needed an extracurricular.
Did you really need an extracurricular?
I did.
You're a teacher.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, when you were just talking about reading, I hadn't thought of this, and the author of this book didn't really talk about how reading immerses us into other cultures.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't necessarily have to travel the world. You could be well read and then have those experiences with those cultures. So maybe that's how you.
Yeah.
Like you said, you've been traveling a lot. How has traveling changed your worldview?
I think that my first trip to Turkey was probably the most like challenging as far as like worldviews being drastically different. When I traveled to Honduras, which was I think the first foreign country I'd gone to, it was still relatively similar, like similar religion. Like Christianity was very prevalent as it is in the Bible Belt of North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
So that was pretty similar. I spoke some Spanish, so that was pretty similar. Like there was still the whole different culture of it, but it was far more familiar to me than the one in Turkey was, because I'd never seen Islam before. Turkish is unlike any of the Romance languages. It's completely different, and I spoke none of it, and my host family didn't really speak English.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was my job to teach them English, so.
Oh, okay.
So just, it taught me a lot of self-reliance, and I think that's carried on into the classroom and in all aspects of my life, really. I mean, one thing that I've definitely have picked up is just taking the pictures and being able to share that with the kids and showing them, like, this is how big the world is. These are just the small parts that I've been to.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you incorporate a lot of things that you've learned in your travels or seen in your travels in your classroom.
I actually just finished up a unit of Asia. I had a lot more materials out before, but they were learning some of the calligraphy and did some artwork with it. We were exploring the pictures, and we ended up writing an opinion task about, we studied 4 different countries in Asia, 2 of which I've been to, but the other 2 we just read books and folk tales and that kind of thing, and made a list up on the board actually of different things that we learned about them, and then their opinion task, like writing task, tying in the Common Core with it, was write an opinion like, where would you want to go and why? Give me reasons why you want to go to this country over the other 3.
Yeah, I think that you could read a book about a different country, but the fact that they knew you were out of school because you were traveling to that country, and then when you came back, you brought things for them to see, you brought some food for them to taste.
I think that's the big draw there is sweets, candy. Yeah, I want to go. They have candy.
Yeah. think that brings it closer to home.
Yeah.
I could do this too. So you're fortunate enough to work in a Montessori school where you can incorporate lots of these things into your classroom.
Absolutely.
How has Montessori helped you to like convey your outlook on the wonders of exploring other cultures? How are you able to bring that into the classroom through Montessori?
Well, there are a lot of components to the Montessori curriculum that just completely align with my worldview, including following the child. So whatever they are interested in, you as the teacher have a responsibility to pursue that and also facilitate the environment so that they can further explore that. And there's the curriculum of peace and also the culture area of Montessori. So it's just taking that whole scope of worldview, like, no, this is our world. We're not the only people here. We are peacemakers in this classroom, like setting the norms for that, and then the culture aspect where it is expected that they explore the continents, and we have all these continent puzzles with all the countries in them. So generally in the beginning of the year they pull them out and just do them as puzzles, but then as the year goes on, and especially with our study of Asia, they pull out the continent puzzle of Asia and start matching the countries. Hey, this one's China. We just talked about that. And then we can pull the books to say, like, well, this is what's so special about China, or that's Japan. Hey, we just made sushi in Japan. That's where that's from. And just really makes those connections.
Yeah, I love the Montessori aspect of the philosophy of teaching children about cosmic education, so they are part of something way bigger than they are.
Yes.
So starting off with the big and kind of tuning into their responsibilities. And
I'm glad you said that, because we actually just finished up a study before we did Asia. We studied with the Cosmic Tower, basically. I asked them what they wanted to learn about, because I had to do a curriculum development project as part of my Montessori certification.
Okay.
And they came up with a huge variety of topics. I mean, they listed every continent by name. Some of them listed countries. Somebody said space. Somebody said what things are made of. So basically, you all want to learn about everything. Okay, we can go with this. And we have a work, I don't know if you've seen it, the Cosmic Tower, where it starts with, it starts at the universe and then backtracks up to, this is our solar system, this is the Earth, this is the town where you live, and on and on until you get to atoms. We started with atoms, and then we ended with a trip to the planetarium to study the cosmos, and hopefully I think they understood a little bit. They have the perspective of their place in the universe. That was my goal.
That's awesome. So can you talk a little bit about peace education in the classroom?
Yeah, there are some really great Maria Montessori quotes that I can't remember right now that have to do with peace. But as far as how it's embodied in our classroom, just even while studying at Chapel Hill, they were really big on socio-emotional intelligence and how that's one of the number one predictors of later on success in adulthood, is how well they score on like a socio-emotional aptitude test in kindergarten. So they were emphasizing a lot of that, and like how we do teach basic social skills and the importance of it. And then I come into the Montessori philosophy where there is the peace education aspect, and it just fits really well. In our classroom, our kids helped establish our rules. It's not my classroom, it's not my assistant's classroom, it's their classroom. They take pride in it. They clean up after themselves most times, theoretically. And as far as settling conflicts, we have something called grace and courtesy rules that we really emphasize through October, really, through the end of October. And it's the explicit instructions for things that parents might not tell them, how to function and be a productive member of society in a closed space, especially when they're 3, 4, 5, 6 years old. They have to overcome a lot of the egocentrism that naturally children have, like, that's mine, I want it.
Right.
But these are all our materials, our classroom, we're sharing it. What do you do if you want to do this work and so does somebody else at the same time? Well, here's what you do. This is what you say. you say, I would really like a turn with that when you're done, will you let me know? And that seems to satisfy the need, address that, like, no, but I want it now. Okay, this is an answer, I can wait. And it starts to develop that, like, as well as the social interaction part.
Yeah, those are all like great skills that will make them better citizens of the world. So Maria Montessori is great for the individualized attention that each child receives, and where they're able to learn about their assets and work on their challenges, and then explore their whatever their interests are. But it's also great at building community, and I think that's what you were just going back to. If we go back to your traveling, the first year that you were working here, you did something. You had the kids all go outside and do
Holy. Yeah.
Yeah, so I thought that was really awesome. Nobody at the school had ever done anything like that.
Yeah, I don't think many people have heard of it either.
No.
So Holi is the Indian festival and celebration of color. It's usually done to welcome spring and is done on the first day of spring. It was something that UNC has done as a celebration, so that's where I got the idea from. But it's been, appropriated, or like there's the color run. And a bunch of other just 5Ks where let's just throw colored powder, and like the cultural aspect of it is just completely.
Not only did you get to do it, your kids got to do it, we got to watch it. I know a lot of the teachers went outside and saw it.
Yep.
So you taught us something that I had never heard of that before. So I guess that's, one of the other great things about working with cosmopolitan people, that you get to learn new things all the time.
Yeah.
So I guess that's the end of my interview. I thank you for sharing, and thank you for, exposing the kids to so many things. So thanks.